Brought to you by Penguin.
Red Star Down by D.B. John. Read by Jennifer Kim. This is a historical novel, loosely set in the tumultuous months between Donald Trump's inauguration as President of the United States in 2017 and his bizarre summits with Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin the following year. Excerpt from Glossary of Intelligence Terms and Definitions. Classified, CIA Directorate of Operations, Seed-Bearing Program. 1. Originally, 1970s to 90s, a long-term North Korean conspiracy to abduct hundreds of randomly selected foreign nationals, mostly from remote beaches in Japan and South Korea, and compel them to become covert overseas operatives for the North Korean state. 2. More recently, 1990s to 2011, a long-term North Korean conspiracy to train the abduction victims' children, who were born and raised in North Korea, as covert overseas operatives for the North Korean state. The program was controlled by Section 915 of the Organization and Guidance Department of the North Korean Workers' Party, reporting directly to Kim Jong-il until his death in 2011. Now considered terminated. Entry updated 2012-0504.
Prologue. Barikatnaya Street, Moscow, January 2017. The moment he'd learned he would be in the studio audience, sitting just meters from the president on live television, Lyosha had found concentration almost impossible. For the next 2 days, he'd gone through the motions of showing up for his law lectures at university, had taken no notes, and had recalled nothing of them afterward. His dissertation work, so engrossing and urgent 2 days ago, now seemed trivial and irrelevant. 1 minute he was feeling such exhilaration that he could hardly breathe. The next he was almost hysterical with fear. His hockey training helped. He could calm his nerves by staying behind for solo practice at the CSKA arena, doing sets of 200-meter ice sprints and 400-meter laps around the rink. This left him physically wrecked, but so buzzing with adrenaline that he couldn't sleep, so he'd get up and drink 3 shots of vodka in quick succession. That, too, helped. He wasn't much of a drinker, and felt the effects strongly. The organizers of Direct Line with Vladimir Putin had called Lyosha within hours of him registering his interest on the show's website. A woman from the production team named Polina had wanted to know a few things about him: his background, his opinions, his plans for the future. He tried to sound sunny and eager and humble all at once, and had told her that the question he'd really like to ask the president was this: what can be done to encourage talented youths like myself to make our careers in Russia and not be lured abroad by the false promises and hypocrisy of the West? Lyosha had agonized over this question. On the one hand, it was an easy patriotic softball. On the other, it carried a whiff of subversion because it was asking the president to admit what most people knew: that any graduate with half a brain was tempted to leg it to the West. But the woman on the end of the line had brightened at once. "That's a great question, Lyosha," she'd said. "We'll call you back." He'd guessed that the FSB, the internal police, were running a check to make sure he wasn't on a database as a dissident or an extremist, and he did worry that he'd been caught on camera at one of the massive student protests he'd attended where he chanted, "Putin is a thief!" along with thousands of others. But to his surprise, Polina had called him back. She double-checked his question by repeating it slowly back to him and asking him to confirm it. He knew they were making sure that nothing...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?